You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!
Hey everybody, good evening. Good evening from chilly New York, and it's only going to get chillier. Then again, everywhere is New York for the next week. I think we're going to be flirting with mid-40s tomorrow or something like that. That might get rid of all of the last remaining patches of ice on the walkway before 19,000 feet show up over the weekend. Everybody's fighting over whether or not it's real, whether or not we're going to get this much. I don't know how a storm this size is going to leave us with nothing. But that'll be on Sunday, of course, because we only get Sunday snowstorms, you see. Though it will carry into Monday a little bit. There's a chance that on Monday night I might be live from Studio B. You just don't know. But as for tonight, it's just you and I. It is chilly, but it's cozy inside. And we've got a great guest coming back for a follow-up that I've been waiting for since we all got together back in early December. Timothy Gordon is not going to be with us tonight. He has some family stuff going on right now. And so I'm going to pick up the reins here and speak with Robert Marrow Jr. in just a little while. Robert Marrow was on with us in December to promote and talk about the contents of his new book. That book, of course, let me get it up on the screen for a second, is about the enigmatic Father Malachi Martin. And I love this guy's stories. And I love everything about the man, Malachi Martin, and all his published work and all of his appearances on radio and television back in the day. There's a lot more out there than just his 7 historic guest appearances on Coast to Coast back in the mid to late 90s. But this is written, and although there is some stuff out there written on Malachi Martin, this one is written fresh. It's fresh off the printer. And Robert Marrow Jr. spent a good amount of time with him as a close confidant during the last 10 years of his life. So I have so much to ask him. There was no way we were going to get all that in the first go around, and a lot of stuff I have to ask him tonight has very little to do with the book. Obviously, I don't want to give away the farm. You know, should definitely buy the book. It's an incredible story about international, intrigue there too. It's not even just about confronting the demonic and everything else like that. We're talking about international espionage and relations, not only behind the Iron Curtain, but over here at home, and a lot of the deep state, deep church aspects that we talk about so much. Incredible. And of course, right now it is smack dab in the middle of Davos season. The president's out there in Davos. Maybe we will do a little bit of a broadcast tomorrow in the morning to watch some of the highlights. I have some of the things that he had that President Trump had said out there. Pretty great speech, for what speeches are. This was a great one. And man, I don't know. There's so many sacks of shit out there walking around. There are a lot of side stories we'll be talking about. James O'Keefe talking to BlackRock executives around Davos. They're talking about all of their exploits in the World Economic Forum. People who the hell knows, that are just essentially talking about the military spraying the atmosphere down, things that we already knew. So just interesting. how AI has really taken front and center more than ever before. People are not really talking about the bugs so much being a really great source of protein that much more. You know, they do a lot of market testing. They see what people are ready for and what they're not ready for. And over the next couple of days, I mean, we have plenty of time tomorrow. Matt might come in tomorrow. That would be nice. If we can, listen to some clips from Davos with Matt here and just make fun of everything and then take some calls. Who the hell knows? Who knows? But in second half, I have some Davos stuff, but I have some Davos questions, speculative stuff for Robert Marrow Jr., who will be here in just a second. We're going to bring him on in about 5 minutes or so. But for those of you who are watching live and those of you who are watching after the fact, please give this show a like, leave a comment in the chat room or in the comment section, share it. Make sure that you are not only subscribed to whatever channel you're on, but make sure that all of your notifications are on. Okay, there's been a lot of revelation. I told you about all the stuff that I was digging up with all of the platforms from a streaming angle and what was going on with everybody's channels and all that, the viewership implications and stuff. Well, there's been quite a bit that has been revealed about the Twitter algorithm over the last 36 hours, 24 hours or so. And maybe I'll have to save that for tomorrow as well. Very interesting stuff. Apparently, it's all gone public. And people are going in there and really picking apart why there is a lot of people are having a lot of trouble having success as an independent brand or an independent blog or whatever the hell it is. Why can't I reach the people who already found me? You know? So whatever goes on there, you know that you can extrapolate outward. Really interesting conversations we're going to be able to have over the last couple of days of this week, not only on the 7 o'clock show, but in the B-sides, the single topics streams I like doing in the morning. We should be able to get 1 or 2 B-sides streams in Friday morning, maybe tomorrow as well. We got some reruns to re-premiere on YouTube and Rumble and elsewhere on Friday night and perhaps Saturday night. It's going to be nice. It's going to be nice in preparation for the winter wonderland that's coming. So I thank you all so much. I also want to remind you that tonight and tomorrow will be drawing the name not only for, it's very, very, very in season, the Stunads shirt. Stunads, all of you. Yes, we are Stunads. Some of us more than others. It's a medium, remember that. And of course, you're going to be in the running for this wonderful, cozy, exotic shower and diffusing kits, and I put nootropics in there with our wonderful friends at Keto Brainz with a scooper and stuff from our wonderful friend Jane. Just some great stuff. I'm just putting it all out there, and we will draw a name for that tomorrow. All you got to do is send a super chat through YouTube or Rumble or Pilled or quite frankly superchat.com, which is the best way to do it because it goes right through Streamlabs and it comes to us immediately and without 30% taken off the top. Anyway, crazy things. You want to talk about demonic possession? Virginia. I guess the elections in Virginia didn't go too well recently because Virginia Democrats, they're in control in the state again. And they've introduced a bill that mandates children be taught inclusive history that includes every marginalized group on the planet, including transgender and queer people. You have to learn about them. You have to learn about them, everybody. Got to learn about the transgender and the queer people. They are an essential part to human history. You know, very important to know how other people. How else? How else can you build a building without knowing how people orgasm? How could you ever build a bridge, a suspension bridge, without knowing the physics of an orgasm, a gay orgasm? How can you do one without the other? And then you have this other one. I saw this from Christian Hines. Democrats in Virginia have also introduced a bill to eliminate mandatory minimum sentencing for rape, manslaughter, assaulting a law enforcement officer, possession and distribution of child sexual assault materials, and all repeat violent felonies. They want to eliminate mandatory minimum sentencing. Now, I think about that as we transition over here to talk to Robert Marrow. I think about this and I say to myself, I mean, there's the worst case scenario where it's just so-called, usually the case with so-called liberals, they are just reflexively evil. At bare minimum, they're contrarian, but just on a reflexive level, evil. So, for example, when I say bare minimum contrarian, if they're not choosing evil for evil's sake, they're often just choosing evil because they've been groomed into automatically wanting whatever it is their opponents want. What they don't like. Even if what their opponents don't like is something that is an objection, it's a objective good, a positive for humanity, especially when it comes to procreation and stable family life, because that's how a species survives. It's insane. It's insane. But is there any dumb HR lady level reason why they would advocate for something like this, if not for just choosing evil? You know? Is there some other, what they would consider practical reason for wanting to get rid of mandatory minimum sentencing for sexual assault and the abuse of children and the recording of it? I went into some comment sections. I found two people, and we're going to get around to this. Let me bring on our guest in just a second. Listen to a couple of these comments, and they're not advocating it. They're just trying to play devil's advocate. Somebody said, a lot of people think mandatory minimum sentences are an unhelpful restriction on court discretion. Good. I don't want a judge, especially a 21st century judge, to have discretion on a sexual assault case like this, or a situation where a child is abused. I want mandatory torture and mutilation and slow death, to be honest. I think 20 years is too little as a mandatory. You know, maybe 100 years ago, we can leave judges' discretion because we were just cut from a different cloth back then. This other person, George, says they believe, talking about liberals believe the only legitimate role for incarceration is rehabilitation. Therefore, a mandatory minimum could be incarcerating someone who is rehabilitated. They also tend to believe that no sentence should be longer than 20 years. Oh, wait, a mandatory minimum could be incarcerating someone who is rehabilitated? Rehabilitated and actively on the hunt for rape victims? What? Now, don't get me wrong, like mandatory minimums for cannabis possession or something like that is obscene. But the charges listed here, I mean, many of them are crimes against humanity. So there's Virginia for you. That's the Mason-Dixon line. Anyway, talking about evil, talking about perfectly possessed people, talking about being spiritually oppressed, we're going to bring on somebody who knew the real deal Holyfield, and that was Malachi Martin. So tonight, like I said, a much anticipated follow-up to our December 4th conversation that we had featuring Robert Marrow Jr., whose close personal relationship with the enigmatic author and Roman Catholic exorcist Malachi Martin culminated with the publishing of a fascinating book, one that was already sold out by the time he came on the first night. It's probably in its third printing right now. Is that true, Robert? Is it its 15th printing already?
It's in its second printing, yes.
Oh wow!
And it's been a bestseller. So I've been extremely gratified by the response.
I am so happy to have you back. I hope that your Christmas and the turning of the page of the new year was a peaceful one for you.
Quiet and uneventful.
Good. You know, when I was a kid, I used to think quiet and uneventful was just the worst thing that could ever be a descriptor of the holidays. And now I realize it is the greatest gift from God ever.
Without a doubt.
Yes, I know. Everybody accounted for. The food was edible and everything is fine. So I've got a lot to talk with you about tonight and ask you about. And
Sure.
Let's just jump right into it because
Go for it.
there's so much. By any chance, let me just ask you just about the book itself and what you're doing right now in promoting it. Has Coast to Coast reached out to you at all?
No, not at all.
What, do you have any interest in reaching out to them? Was there bad blood with the new host?
No, not at all. I just don't have a contact over there.
Oh, okay. You would think that would be that would just go hand in glove to be able to talk about Malachi with an audience that if they go back to the OG days, man, this was the bee's knees.
A lot of people enjoyed his appearances on Coast to Coast.
Absolutely did. Absolutely. And you know who really enjoyed it? It was Art Bell himself. I know.
We interviewed Art on our for the documentary we did 8-9 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, he's actually in the documentary. He actually allowed our production team into the fortress way out in the desert.
You know, I have to go and watch this thing now. I have to go and watch this. I really, really do, because and I got to ask you, so when Malachi was alive, did you ever talk to him about his relationship with Art off air? Because it's well known that he was probably one of his favorite guests of all time. And Art made it known in public many times that they had some enthralling conversations off air. I wonder if you ever got a glimpse into those.
He never really spoke about the content of his conversations with Art. He did give me to know that, you know, he considered Art, although they never met in person, he considered Art a very good friend.
Mm.
The two of them saw, even though Art wasn't Catholic, I believe Art's wife was.
Yeah.
But even so, Malachi considered Art a kindred soul of sorts.
That's a good way of describing some people. I know exactly those types. You know, last time you were on, we spoke a little bit about Malachi's time behind the Iron Curtain and the mission for which he was granted the title and authority of bishop, and his eventual capture and torture. And Father Martin counted that among 2 times he said in his life that when he was in grave mortal danger. The other time, yes, I remember him saying that he almost died during a particularly brutal exorcism. Did he ever tell you the details about that case?
No, he didn't. What he would do is he would typically divide exorcisms up into 2 categories. Either, for lack of a better phrase, clean or dirty. The dirty exorcisms are the ones that conjure up visions of what happened in the movie The Exorcist. But that had a layer of Hollywood theatricality put on top, what Malachi called the Frankenstein Dracula stuff. The other that you would consider to be more or less clean was evidenced by the fact that there wouldn't be a whole lot of gore in evidence. There wouldn't be some of the more theatrically horrifying things, that it was more or less an intellectual clash of wills between the priest and evil spirit.
But in this particular case, something happened to him physically, so that had to be one of those dirty moments.
Yes. It's often speculated, and he never confirmed it to me, but his book, Hostage to the Devil, that was the book that was the case history of the possession and exorcism of, at the time it was published, of 5 living Americans. Now they've changed the cover to the possession and exorcism of 5 contemporary Americans, because most of those people have gone to their judgment. The first story in there of the priest who conducted the exorcism in the Bronx during the visit of Pope Paul VI to New York City back in the mid-1960s was based on an exorcism that he had either conducted or more likely participated in as the assistant exorcist.
Mm. You know, since December, I've been thinking about just the stories that you were talking about with papal visits, and how there would be some very suspicious, seemingly sabotaging movement within certain circles over here in the U.S. to try to make some visits more, dangerous than others. I was thinking about it just yesterday too, when we got the word that Air Force One had to turn around, take a U-turn on the way to Davos to get themselves into a new plane because the lights were flickering or something like that. It just made me think about security protocols and the ones that you were laying out for papal visits in the 20th century that the Malachi knew a little bit about. That's I have to imagine you know a little bit more about that just as an intelligence officer as well.
Sure. That would have come under the category of foreign head of state or foreign high-level dignitary protection, and that's typically the bailiwick of the United States Secret Service. And they draw in assistance from what are called OGAs, other government agencies, as necessary. When Pope John Paul II came to the United States in 1995, I was pulled in by the Secret Service in New Jersey to be a counterterrorism consultant for them from the CIA for the papal visit.
Okay. Yeah, that's one thing when we were reading Windswept House, Timothy Gordon and I, there's a character, Appleyard. I think his name is Appleyard.
Gibson Appleyard.
Okay. And that's one of those things where you can tell, I see a gap bridged here between understanding everybody's roles here. You have an intelligence agency, you have the Vatican. You know that they're both very geopolitical in nature, but there's also an added spiritual element with the Vatican there too. And you never see those two all that meshed together in the book. I think that Appleyard is just a little bit more of how are things happening in the world? The pressure that's being put on John Paul II, the Soviet Union, the New World Order, all these things that are coming together at once. He's not really too concerned about the spiritual, the unseen world around us and the battles that are going on there. But you kind of told us a story with Fort Bragg that kind of takes that all together and meshes it all together. There's a military industrial complex element to it. There's U.S. military intelligence, but then now they're seeking counsel on a spiritual level because they have demonically possessed soldiers in their ranks. And that's, I wonder how often that those worlds are colliding and overlapping when, aside from this little glimpse that you gave us.
I would imagine more than people suspect. However, I have to qualify that by saying that to the extent that it is still occurring, it would be covered under the classification confines of what's now known as a SAP, Special Access Program. It's typically a code word above top secret.
Oh, we know all about SAP because that was we learned about that because the Clinton email servers. We learned about so she probably has all the demonic possession files over there, doesn't she?
I have no comment.
Of course you don't. Anyway, so you told us about this story at Fort Bragg. So we know about Father Martin's link there, at least with that story, to U.S. intelligence, but he himself had said that there was a time in his life when he was over here in the U.S. that he attended United Nations meetings weekly. And do you recall any of the purpose of those meetings or what he was being brought in on? Because that's fascinating as well. I don't think he gave any details.
He would have been brought into those meetings as an unofficial representative of His Holiness the Pope.
Okay. And that's just it. It would be purely...
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. He would not be there as in any official kind of capacity for the Vatican.
Okay. No doubt. Also in New York, it brings me to that Riverside Drive New World Order scene in the boardroom in Windswept House that we were talking about, where, in fact, I remember Timothy Gordon and I, we kept, as I told you, we kept that character key for the book handy while we read it in 2022. So we knew that Malachi smelled a rat with people that were even outside of the circles of bishops and whatnot, yes. and more so got into the technocrat philanthropist circles like Klaus Schwab. Klaus Schwab in particular was given a character in there, and I was wondering what commentary he would provide, do you think, on summits like what we're seeing in Davos this week that are still largely steered and influenced by the people who were having those very strange meetings in the boardrooms in Windswept House, where they left the 13th chair open for Lucifer at the meetings and all that. What do you think about the World Economic Forum and Davos scene? What would he be commentary would he be giving us today? Could you speculate?
Sure. I think Malachi would say that where Davos is right now is in its natural evolution towards what a lot of people call the fourth turning. You're probably familiar with that
Yes.
statement. Um, I think what he may not have expected, though, has been, especially within the United States, certain parts of civilian society in England, Ireland, Wales, France, Poland, is that there has been stronger than anticipated pushback against that agenda. Now, rightly or wrongly, I don't want to steer the conversation into the direction of politics or partisan politics. However, it's very clear that whereas previous Democrat administrations in the United States over the last 20 years have bought very thoroughly into the globalist agenda, that especially with the advent of the first and now second Trump administrations, the brakes have been put on that insofar as, pardon me, the United States is concerned. Uh, the key question is whether or not the Republicans can keep that momentum going once President Trump leaves the scene in 2028, or will the Democrats succeed in getting the United States back on a more Davos-friendly track?
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about that, especially like before you just came on tonight. I was giving a little bit of my observations that maybe I'll be able to get around to in the second half with whatever time I have left or tomorrow, and that is that a lot of the agendas that are all laid out for people before these summits take place, and while they take place, they become very clear and they become droning because a lot of this is just about just branding, and AI obviously has become more and more essential part of, the fourth. You're talking about the fourth turning. Klaus Schwab is very keen on his fourth industrial revolution, which is essentially a deindustrialization of the world and bringing people's standard of living down as we collectivize more. But along the way, there's some really staggering claims being made about AI, what role it's going to play, what responsibilities it's going to take on, especially on a spiritual sense. There's some statements being made just in the last few hours about how AI is going to be a great resource for understanding the holy books of the world and interpreting the Bible and any other sacred text or text that is considered sacred to other cultures. I just wonder. I wonder if you ever had any talk with Malachi in the mid to late '90s when obviously this is on the. I mean, Ray Kurzweil was talking about the singularity back in
The singularity.
like what were his thoughts on this, even though it was just the 90s and there's the 30 years of innovation still ahead of us?
He actually, if you remember from Windswept House, there was a scene in which the character Ceci, because of her financial influence with the Vatican, she was in New York City and she was taken to, if not the Federal Reserve Bank, one of the larger member banks of the Federal Reserve in New York, and she was brought into an air-conditioned room, and she saw nothing but huge banks of computers and servers, and she was told that through those computers and servers, trillions of dollars a day were moved around the world. And he had the character say something that was actually fairly prescient, in which, as she was leaving the room and she looked up at the humming bank of machines and lights, and she said, "At last, the devil is wired into the world."
Mm.
And I think he would say that to a large extent, that has continued, and if anything, accelerated, because you now have instant documented instances where people are using these various AI models that are available for commercial private use, And people are being told, what they're doing is they are speaking or chatting with these AI models. And in some cases, the AI models are telling them to commit acts of self-harm.
Hmm.
That's not from God.
Yep. There's the spiritual psychosis element of AI has been very well documented. How it's getting worse, and that's why I had to ask you about it, because between
Sure.
the concept of singularity being out there for a long time, for someone like me, there is such a clear and present danger to human consciousness. We're seeing the impact on IQ. There is definitely a Ouija board aspect to this all as well, no doubt about it. So, like I said,
I agree.
there's just that. So let me ask you a little bit more about this, though, because that starts bringing us into a very popular topic that he was asked about, and that is the Antichrist. And in what form will it appear? Whether it's going to be a person or a system, like what we're seeing rolled out across the world.
Right.
The devil has been wired into the. Yeah, you're right. It's a very prescient statement right there. But I have a couple of notes here from just the past.
Sure.
He said that the Antichrist is currently alive and has a type of pseudo immortality where he cannot be killed until Christ kills him.
Correct.
This was around 1997, 98. He said that he was not alive but not publicly active in his role. Later in that night, a caller called in and it said, began his question, said, I know you said that the Antichrist is already born. And that's when Malachi cuts him off and says, no, I never said he was born. I said he was not alive. Born is something different. I always wondered, and so did somebody else that wrote into the show, what he meant by that, because in the same portion he goes on to explain that the Antichrist will know who he is and what his function is because of his parentage. So,
Yes. His father's Lucifer.
okay,
I mean, his father has an angelic level of intelligence. So that will be obviously passed on to his demonically inspired progeny. Malachi never called him, by the way, it was interesting. Malachi never referred to this person as the Antichrist. He always referred to him, I believe, the way he was referred to in the Bible, in the book of Revelation, as the man of perdition or the man of sin.
mm. Did you and
But
did you?
he definitely said it is a person. And maybe I mentioned this to you last time I appeared on your show, because I asked him, I said, well, if he was born circa 1962, but he doesn't reveal himself to the world till approximately the middle of the 21st century, isn't he going to be a rather old man by then? And that's when he corrected me and he said, you're forgetting. He will have the visual appearance of being ageless because of who his father is. So it looks like he will hit the chronologically, he will visually appear to be 35, 40, and then the aging process will come to a screeching halt.
I wondered to see that those are there's so many questions you can ask right there. Like where is this taken from? Like how do we know? And how did he know? Where did he pick that up? That this is the way it's going to be. Obviously, he wouldn't know who it is. Maybe if they present themselves, I'd have to imagine at this point they might be kicking around. But everybody's so polarizing, Robert. That's the whole thing. Whenever this topic comes up, the Antichrist is usually described as some kind of an alluring, disarming, universally liked person. There's no one like that on Earth anymore, if there ever was. So I don't know.
I agree. I don't see anyone on the horizon or on the scene right now who has that level of charisma. But in addition to that, Malachi said that one of the defining hallmarks of this individual is that shortly within a year or two of his advent upon the world scene, he will apparently have authoritative, effective solutions for every major problem that plagues humanity, be it financial, be it medical, be it economic or social. He will bring an end to intractable political conflicts around the world. He will broker a lasting, what appears to be a just and lasting peace, for example, in the Middle East, between Israel and its neighbors. Wherever you can think of an intractable political conflict in the world, kinetic or not, he'll have a solution for it. He'll have the cures for cancer. He'll have conclusive cures for AIDS, any other diseases that currently escape our ability to conclusively cure, like Ebola or Marburg or any of the various hemorrhagic fevers. Whatever the challenge that scientists and political scientists are now unable to cope with or solve, he will apparently come up with well-meaning and effective solutions. Malachi told me, though, that he will have one price for bestowing these solutions upon a mankind or humanity that is very eager for them. And that price will be forget about your allegiance to Jesus Christ, kneel before me and acknowledge me as divine. Because only someone of divine origin could solve all of these problems at once.
You see, when
And
you
Malachi said that it's going to be very, very compelling. That's why he said, there's a lot of verses in the New Testament, especially, I believe, in the book of Matthew, chapter 25, where it talks about in the last days before the Lord returns, that there will be wars and rumors of wars and earthquakes and tidal waves, the whole nine yards. And Malachi said that that was not the most frightening question or frightening topic that Christ ever brought up in the New Testament. He said it was a rhetorical question that Jesus asked his disciples. He said, when the Son of Man returns, will he find any faith at all upon the earth? And Malachi said that question terrified him because he said Jesus, in posing that rhetorical question, he already knew the answer because he's God.
Hmm. And well, he also spoke about the church needing to go underground at
Yes,
some point.
he said that started back in the 1990s. And he said it started in the 1990s because so many Roman Catholic churchmen had committed practical apostasy, either deliberately because they rejected the traditional moral, dogmatic teachings and rituals of the Roman Church, or they were never formed properly in the seminary to begin with. He said, in order to be a properly functioning Roman Catholic priest, traditional, and I don't want to get too deep into the weeds here,
Mm-hmm.
but in order to be a traditional Roman Catholic priest, to be able to officiate at the holy sacrifice of the Mass and to dispense the sacraments to the faithful, you have to be properly formed in precisely what you're doing. And he said he loved talking to me in analogies. He said, suppose you were suppose you were dying of a disease that needed a special operation, and they presented a doctor to you who went to a medical school at night on the weekends for 3 months, but they held a graduation ceremony. They gave him a doctor's lab coat and a stethoscope and put the letters MD after his name. He said, would you trust that man to operate on you?
Rhetorical. That's a rhetorical question right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And he said a lot of Catholic priests, starting in the 1970s, they were the subject of what he called malformation in the seminary. He said they were not properly taught what a Roman Catholic priest's ultimate purpose is, and that is to represent to the Roman Catholic laity and people It's to represent Jesus as what the Latin phrase is, an alter Christus, another Christ. Not that he becomes Jesus or anything like that. That's a mistake to think that, but that he represents in an unbloody manner the sacrifice of Calvary every time he says the Mass. And he said many priests in that time period came to see themselves as glorified therapists and social workers. He said, how could they know what the church traditionally intends them to do if they were never taught it in the first place? That's when he said the need was recognized for the underground church. And it started in the early 1990s. And if anything, it's still growing today.
It is.
Yes.
It no doubt is, and I remember it as a central part of some of the first talks that he had with Art Bell, in really trying to lay out what kind of a problem had been made, almost like how we had been slowly disarmed going into the 21st century, slowly disarmed by the people who were supposed to be there to help preserve souls and
boil the frog.
Yeah, essentially that by the 90s, he said that many priests that were coming out of the seminary didn't actually believe in the devil as being an actual entity to be feared that is meddling.
Exactly. Because he said to be a person, you do not have to have a human body. And I think a lot that really throws a lot of people. To have an identity, you do not have to have a human body. Because there's that old Protestant canard from the Middle Ages that they used to mock Catholics with. How many angels can dance on the head of a pin? You've heard that phrase, that question. All right. And he said that was overlooking something. He said, because how do we, like, for example, on this podcast, how many people do we know are on this podcast directly involved? 2. I can see you, you can see me. Okay? There are 2 bodies sitting in different locations communicating with each other. He said, but beings and personalities that are purely spiritual, if they have no body, how do you differentiate between them? And he said you differentiate between them by their function. What they do, not physicality.
You know, when you talk about that, a person, of course, can make, because I'm going back to the Antichrist stuff that we were just talking about. When you said at the end, there was going to be the price that was offered. You say that Malachi had brought that up, the price that would be offered, and that was, of course, the allegiance to the person, the entity, and to of course divorce oneself from following Jesus. Up until that point, I'm saying to myself, well, the people who feel that AI is actually a pretty appropriate candidate for maybe that this is Antichrist is more of a system than anything, because at present moment we know that AI is very, very very, very heavily relied upon to even manage active battlefields right now. You want to talk about geopolitics and being able to game plan solutions. We know that AI is now being introduced and proposed to people through Project Stargate that we got early, like the first day of the Trump administration, when we had all of those technocrats come out and talk about Stargate. They were bragging about how AI is going to be able to customize medicine for each person. Whatever kind of cancer one person has, there is going to be a medicine that is made just for that person. So, and it goes beyond all that you said, all the solutions for anything that could plague this earth, from political, non-political, health, you name it, environmental. AI is, those systems definitely right now are promising those types of solutions. But of course, there's no presence, there's no hair, there's no eyebrows, there's no eyes to gaze into or anything like that.
And there's also one huge Achilles heel.
What?
What happens when someone reaches up and hits the off switch?
That's a good one too.
That's the for people who tout the investment potential of things like cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. And I said, it sounds wonderful until the lights go out. Then
Perhaps,
what do you do?
maybe we're talking about some kind of a body then. Maybe there's some kind of a alien gray kind of an AI body that it's going to be used as a sock puppet, almost like just an actual glove to fit into, or is this going to be somebody that is just very, very much as flesh and bone as the rest of us? I don't know. It's just a crazy thing because there's so many options right now that actually make sense, and the world seems to be as chaotic as it at least has ever been, if not a little bit more. But I don't know. Everybody's kind of taking notes and seeing where we all go. But moving a little bit more into another direction there too. This is another thing that I thought was interesting when you talk about going outside the box, especially staring out and just the observation, the Vatican's seemingly obsessive interest with astronomy.
Yep.
Malachi has talked about this a lot there too. The construction of observations, which of course was very prominently spearheaded by Jesuits throughout the centuries. This quote intense interest in this is from Malachi. He said this intense interest in astronomy because of the contents of some of the secret revelations they claim were made in this century about the near future involving astronomical data is about as general a statement that I would be allowed to make. So the interest was about secret revelations that were made this century about the near future involving, or in some way colored in and unlocked by astronomical data. He went on to conclude to say they're looking for the evidence they need to decide when certain things must be done. What the hell does that mean?
I suppose it would be a cop-out if I just looked at you and said, I don't have a blessed clue.
Okay.
However, I do know because one of my hobbies, in addition to military history, I've got two other great hobbies. I like I actually like building electric guitars,
Hmm.
and people don't see that one coming. And the other is I like amateur astronomy, telescopes, and that sort of thing. And one of the places that has some of the most advanced telescopes on Earth are actually on the mountain peaks in Hawaii. And I think the University of Arizona has a large scope up there. But interestingly enough, the if it's not wholly owned by the Vatican, it's jointly run by the Vatican and an American university, a large telescope up there. So it's not just a couple of Jesuits with a Sears telescope on a hill outside Rome. They actually have very sophisticated monitoring instruments. What they're looking for, Malachi never shared that with me. He did speculate that if I was asking for his personal opinion, he said that he thought the chances were actually fairly good that there was other intelligent life in the universe, but that intelligent life, in all likelihood, would never, due to the distances, the cosmological distances involved, would never have meaningful interaction with humanity.
Hmm. He also many times had made comments that some people thought were just figurative, and other times it seemed like he was being very literal about it. But to keep your eyes to the sky, and that there would be signs in the sky. So naturally, people.
I know what that referred to, though.
Okay.
All right. And I don't know your faith background, okay, but for me as a Roman Catholic, and Malachi is a Roman Catholic, he he frequently spoke about the appearances of the Virgin Mary in Fatima, Portugal in 1917,
Mhm.
the famous third secret of Fatima. One of the things that occurred in her final appearance in Portugal in 1913, in 1917, October 13th, was the famous miracle of the sun, where 70,000 people were gathered there.
My great grandfather was there.
Ah, okay, there you go. Well, then he would have been able to tell you that present among that crowd were journalists and scientists, government officials from the Portuguese government, which at the time was decidedly anti-Christian and anti-Catholic. And they had a vested interest in mocking the church and proving that these little children were raving lunatics, except that the miracle of it had rained the entire night before. So the entire area was just one sloppy, I guess, pious version of Woodstock.
Hmm.
You know, the people slopping around in the mud. But for about 5 minutes, there was that phenomena in the sky where the sun looked like it was plunging towards the earth, and it took on the appearance of a spinning disk of many colors that people could comfortably look at without damaging their eyesight. And it looked like it was plunging down to the earth, such to the point that a lot of people thought it was the end of the world, until it reached a certain point and then stopped and resumed its normal position in the sky, and once again being unable to be looked at. And there was a minor miracle that the people realized when that moment occurred, all of their clothes were dry and all of the mud puddles were gone. And that was referred to as the great miracle of the sun. So when he said, keep your eyes on the skies, he was referring not to some sort of non-human or not from this world visitation by beings from somewhere else. He was talking about the intervention of the Virgin Mary in human history again. That's what he was talking about. And he thought that that phenomena would be first made manifest according to a number of prophecies in what he called our human skies.
You know, when it comes to Fatima, I and I've heard this question asked of him many times, and of course he didn't really have a. It's more of a, I don't know, I guess something that you just duty bound. It's not in your authority to do anything. But I know that the third secret was supposed to be made public by 1960. That was a deadline set by Sister Lucy, and
Yes.
you know, when that doesn't happen. When that doesn't happen, I feel like, you know, it's and Malachi said he knew it and he read it and he understood the text very well. And as bad as you can imagine, this a disaster, it's 10 times worse. That's what we keep on getting. And like we said before, when you and I were together with Tim a month ago, yeah, these are the kinds of things that, you know, we kind of just like from a rubbernecking standpoint, we want to hear about it. You know, how bad's it going to get? You know,
Sensationalism.
Absolutely. But from a practical standpoint, like if this is recognized by any church, any congregation as legitimate and a mandate that came down from the Blessed Mother herself, then I think that wouldn't it be incumbent upon anybody who has that information to be able to make it known if the pontiff himself is not budging on what he's been ordered to do? I just, you know, it's so many people called
why Malachi didn't reveal it.
Yeah, when it was already 38 years too late by the time he was talking about this on Art's show. So people were naturally asking, well, come on, it was supposed to be out in 1960.
What Malachi told me was that he took such things as oaths made to the Pope very, very seriously. And the condition under which he was permitted to read actually a German translation of the secret that was given to Cardinal Bea, the condition was that he was bound by an oath of secrecy to the Pope, whoever the reigning Pope would be, and that unless the Pope specifically released him, well, thank you. The Pope specifically released him from the oath of secrecy, that he could not, in good faith and obedience, reveal what the secret was. He did tell me, though, that had the Vatican ever revealed what they claimed to be the text of the third secret, and if it was not the same secret that was divulged to him, he said he would have had no problem taking out a half-page ad in the New York Times, letting it all hang out, as they say. And it's very interesting that a year after, maybe not even quite a year after he died, as one of the final people to be alive to know what the actual text of the message was, the Vatican released what a lot of people say was the controversial partial secret.
Yep. In 2000, I remember that was
Yep.
that's when they kind of rested on this whole idea that the third secret was about a bishop in white that was going to get shot, and it was about Pope John Paul's attempted assassination. Which
Yep.
just on the like, you don't want to see anybody get shot and killed in a public setting, but that's doesn't seem as cataclysmic as
It didn't ring true,
right.
because there's another logical point to it. We have the words of the Blessed Virgin herself when she started to say what the third secret was, when she said, in Portugal, the dogmas of the faith will always be preserved, followed by the grammatical symbol, the ellipsis, three dots, dot, 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 which leads one to believe that if in Portugal the dogma of the faith will always be preserved, then there are other parts of the world where it will not be. Now, this next statement is just my speculation only, and it has no grounding in anything Malachi told me, with the exception of an inference. But one day when we were having lunch at the Isle of Capri in New York, and I said, with regard to the third secret of Fatima, if you had a choice between living in the eastern United States or the western United States, east of the Mississippi or west of the Mississippi, where would you rather live? And he said, you could not pay me enough to live west of the Mississippi.
Okay.
And I never asked him about this because I never knew about it at the time. But I suspect he could have been obliquely referring to the Yellowstone supervolcano.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
I don't know. That's my speculation.
You see, I thought about that a lot there too. And I almost suggested that you might be going there. But every time I think about Yellowstone, I think about those eastward winds that I think everything east of Yellowstone is actually going to be smoked out. That there actually might be, if that did erupt, there might be some parts of the West Coast that are better preserved than the East. Eventually, all that smoke is just going to blot out the sun all over the planet. But still, I mean, I don't know. It's huge.
Well, I'll tell you something. It's tangentially related. I saw a very interesting YouTube. It was actually an official documentary. It wasn't one of those wacky YouTube shows. It was an official documentary.
Not like this one. Not like this show.
No, okay, there you touche. But it was entitled "The Search for the Lost Supervolcano," because apparently a supervolcano erupted approximately in the year 1257 AD. And the only reason they knew that it was a supervolcano was because of geological evidence taken from ice corings that were taken from both the North Pole region and the Antarctic at the same time. And the ice cores that were taken from both areas down at the same depth displayed the same concentration of hydrogen sulfide molecules in the cores. And they said the only way that that could be possible was if there was some sort of planetary geological event which released huge amounts of hydrogen sulfide. Now, when a volcano or a supervolcano erupts, it can send its cloud of ash and gas as far as 25, 26, 27 miles straight up into the stratosphere. If it mixes with water vapor, the molecules bind to become hydrogen sulfide, and those get spread by the prevailing winds and the rotation of the planet all over the world. So, I would say it would just be a matter of time, no matter where you are, before you felt any ill effects. There's that supervolcano in Yellowstone. There's the Campi Flegrei supervolcano right in the Bay of Naples. The one that they actually found responsible for the eruption in 1257 was located in Indonesia. So
So they're very, very well spaced out, placed all over the place.
they are.
Very well
They are.
spaced, perfectly spaced, you know?
And an event like that would be you could argue could be a catastrophic act of God.
Oh, yeah, that's a resetter. That's a resetter. And of course, take a very, very long time, probably hundreds of years just to settle down before whatever mole people crawl out of the caverns to start rebuilding the mud huts and then start the process all over again. I mean, who knows? There is also the question.
Let me ask you, do you remember the event called in 1815 called the Year Without a Summer? Have you heard of that?
No.
Make a note of it. The year 1815, the Year Without a Summer, and it was caused by the eruption of Mount Tambora, again in Indonesia. That's when it was recorded that in the United States, in Massachusetts and Maine, they had snowstorms in July.
I'm seeing this here now. Yeah, I'm reading it. I thought that you were going to actually pivot to Antarctica because regardless of what the hell people think was going on over there, there is no doubt there are well-known seed vaults and anything else that could be useful in being able to rebuild humanity if there is some kind of a cataclysm. And a lot of head-scratching things that have happened, especially around 2016 when you had the patriarch go on down, religious and celebrity figures going down, astronauts going down to Antarctica, people wondering what's going on, if there's some kind of a ritual or a hereafter kind of a planning ceremony going on. I don't know, but that could be hopefully that's something that I'm not around to see for sure.
I don't want to be around to see that.
No, it's way too much of an inconvenience at this point. I have two more things to throw at you, but the first one I want to get out of the way because it has something to do with rumors about commonly referenced defects to Malachi's personal character that follow him, and I had a couple of people email say, "Hey man, you gotta ask about this because I always wondered what the deal was," and I'm sure you've heard it a lot. This is an email that sums it up nicely from Jerry. It says, "Frank, my name is Jerry. I really enjoy your show. I wanted to submit a follow-up question for Mr. Marro. In the documentary Hostage to the Devil, multiple allegations are made regarding Father Malachi Martin's having affairs with multiple women, including the wife of Robert Blair Kaiser. Are these allegations true? Because it would be very interesting to hear the answer to this and Mr. Marro's perspective. Thank you, as always, sincerely, Jerry." I didn't know the names of people, but at the same time, I've seen comment sections. Oh, he was he was this, that, a philanderer, or whatever the hell else. And I offer it up to you. I just want to hear what you have to say.
Well, my one-word answer is slander.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. I was directly a friend of his, person to person, for the last 10 years of his life. Now, admittedly, that was, when he was 69 to 79. I never saw any indication in his personality as a priest or a person that he was capable of engaging in those sort of immoral activities. I saw up close and personal his interaction with his housekeeper, and that is really, that word is so inadequate. Mrs. Kakia Lavanos, she was the widow of a Greek shipping magnate. The family was very wealthy, and she had offered a small studio type cubby apartment within the overall third floor apartment that they had at 116 East 63rd Street off Park Avenue. Um, she was a Greek woman of very steely determination. Um, I saw that there was a very, very deep level of affection between them, but it was nothing near romantic. Not at all. If anything, she was the gatekeeper who kept the loonies away from him. And, unfortunately, since Malachi was fond of giving out his address on the phone, it drove poor Mrs. Lavanos to distraction. It probably took me about 2.5 years to gain her trust. It really did. As far as anything that went on improperly with Robert Blair Kaiser's wife, that was motivated by a hatred nursed in bitterness going back to the 1960s. Robert Blair Kaiser was a failed Jesuit priest. He dropped out of the Jesuits and got married. He became a religion correspondent for Time magazine during the Second Vatican Council in Rome in the 1960s. He was married. He also, and this was well known by the friends he still had in the Jesuits, such as prominent liberals like John Courtney Murray. It was known that he suffered from alcoholism. Plus, they staged several Jesuit friends, including Malachi Martin, by the way. Several Jesuit friends staged what we now call an intervention. And he never forgave them for that. His wife left him to come back to the United States, and Robert Blair Kaiser drew the inference that because her and Malachi Martin left Rome at approximately the same time, although she came back to the United States and he subsequently went to France and then Ireland to stay with his family for a while, he put two and two together and came up with six, inferring that Malachi had run off with his wife when there was no basis in truth to that. But he nursed that grudge for the rest of his life. I mean, if you want to talk about someone who could not let go of a personal agenda of hatred, it would have been Robert Blair Kaiser. And if you get a chance to watch the documentary
I'm going to have to.
about Malachi Martin, we wanted to produce a balanced perspective. Before he died, we did go to the hospice home where he was, and we asked him about Malachi Martin. And it was very apparent that even then, all those years later, 40, 50 years later, he still held on to a very strong hatred of Malachi Martin. He really did. But, he also said in the same interview with us that he didn't believe hell existed. He says, now I know Pope Francis says there is a hell, but it doesn't mean I have to believe in it. So,
yeah.
But as far as whether or not he was capable of carrying on an affair with a married woman, I have to caveat it by saying I was not there in his presence in the 1960s. I was 4 years old in Elizabeth, New Jersey, playing with my G.I. Joe dolls. But from what I knew of the man that I came to know over the period of 10 years, I believe any accusations along those lines are nothing but calumny.
Okay. Well, I had to ask something I see and everybody else see.
Please, there's no questions. We're friends now. There's no questions that are off limits. So.
Well, I appreciate that. Now on to something a little bit. I'd like to end with this next one, and I hope that there's something because I've been waiting to ask these questions for weeks now, but it has to do with just the nature of his work as an exorcist, the nature of his work as just I don't know. I don't know how to say. He's not a spy per se, but he's a knower. he's a knower of things. He's got
Yes. He was a Jesuit, a classical Jesuit.
he just plugged in all over the place. And from what I've also learned, not only from his writing but many other people who are in Vatican circles, that talk about how deeply infiltrated Rome is on a satanic level, from not only the way that they corrupt all of the systems through legal process in the offices there, but how the offices themselves and the chapels at night themselves have hosted many black masses and really freaky things like that over the years that are sometimes cross-continentally linked up and synchronized, as was, in the opening of Windswept House, of course. That's a great example. But I wonder, how are arrests, did he ever talk about how arrests are made in the Vatican when satanic activity is uncovered? Like, is there any countermeasures that are taken by forces inside the Vatican that are still devoted to Christ, that know that there are rituals being done to subvert and infiltrate and muddy the church or attack the faith itself? Is there any kind of anti-demonic?
Is there a good guy force? Are there guys in white hats?
Are there good guys special op? I want to know about that.
Yes, there are. They operate under constraints. It's a combination of a team of exorcists in the Vatican, plus special members of the Italian gendarmerie, the police force, plus the actual Swiss guards. They were instrumental in help breaking up early in the pontificate of Pope Francis a cocaine-fueled homosexual orgy.
I remember that
actually took place inside the Vatican in buildings owned by what at the time was called the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. The activities to which you reference are still going on. And by the way, if I could give a short plug for another book that actually speaks to the continuing activity of those forces that he spoke about in Windswept House, a very good friend of mine who is also a satanic ritual abuse survivor. Her name is Rachel Mastrogiacomo. She has recently, along with people who are close with, I believe, Father Chad Ripperger, the exorcist.
I heard about this.
She recently published this book.
It's getting blocked out by your green screen. Oh wait, put it in front of your face, maybe. No, oh, get a little bit closer, maybe. The Devil in Rome, as it said.
The Devil in Rome.
It's getting blocked out. Okay, I'm gonna look for it right now.
It's on Amazon. The Devil in Rome by Rachel Mastrogiacomo.
The Devil, yeah, here it is. Amazon, The Devil in Rome. Okay, I'm gonna have to get this.
Get it, because what it does, that's it. She sent me a copy about a week and a half ago. The ritualistic satanic abuse that she suffered was actually news of that, and prosecution of the priest was actually blocked by Bishop Robert McElroy when he was the Bishop of San Diego, California. He's now Cardinal Archbishop in Washington, D.C.
You see, this is why I look at and I ask myself, what is done to a devil worshiping priest who are caught in an act of subversion like that?
He was laicized. Well, that priest, Father Jacob Bertrand, he was arrested, faced felony charges, and he was laicized.
Just nuts.
But it's a compelling story. I'll tell you, some friends of mine have asked me. They said, with all the filth and the rot and the evil that has been demonstrated to be going on in the Catholic Church, why are you still Catholic, Rob? And I suppose that's a fair question. And I put it this way: suppose I turn it around and I ask them a question. Suppose you were a son in a family composed of 8 or 9 boys. and the stronger boys on a regular basis beat the living daylights out of your mother. Would that mean because you could not physically prevent it that you would disown your mother?
Mm.
Or would you in your own small way do what you can to protect her?
It's a really great analogy. It's a powerful analogy. I've often brought up the American Republic in the same way. You know, we all call ourselves Americans, and
Yep.
and you know, you look at the republic that we were given, and the shit heap that we are witnessing every day now. That resembles in no way what the charter for this country and still is standing, because there's no constitutional means that actually allowed this mutation to be what it is. You say, well, what is it? What are we looking at here? How honestly can we assess the situation? And it's a very powerful analogy, and it's valid in my eyes. But then of course I'm a Catholic as well, so there's that. But that's something I wanted to end with tonight, because by all means, I remember when that happened in Rome back in 2000. What was 16 when they uncovered, and that it's the crazy, because those drug-fueled orgies were being held, those party nights were being held in the office spaces that are supposed to be investigating that kind of activity.
Exactly.
So we were reading that like, oh my gosh, it's breathless. Sometimes you can just be left. You can be left just mouth agape when you think about
Gabberflasted, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But because you can take a really good accounting of where the corruption is. I feel like anybody who follows American politics and reads the headlines even poorly will say, oh, wow, if I only had the authority to indict people, I know where I would go immediately. But
here's my list.
Here's my list. We have an accounting of evil that is so abundant that you can scrape it off the top of the headlines that are usually tabloid level nonsense. But I mean, that's how bad the grime is. But I often wonder, there's got to be some kind of a white hat good guy special forces team out there in the Vatican who's doing some kind of rituals to negate black masses and to be on the heels of any kind of offending priests or anything else that's out there, because there's so much darkness. There's got to be I'll tell you, one of the greatest forces for good along those lines was the late Roman exorcist Father Gabriele Amorth. Mm-hmm.
Malachi knew him. Malachi held him in great esteem, but he said at the time he knew him, he was one of only a handful of exorcists working in the Vatican and Rome. Apparently, the number has substantially increased in the years since Malachi's and Father Amorth's death. But you're right, it's an uphill battle. It's an uphill battle. What gives us comfort, though, is something that, and I don't want to sound Pollyanna about it, but what gives us comfort is Christ's own words. The gates of hell will not prevail against my church.
Well, Robert Marrow Jr., we are definitely not done, but this is a wonderful place to stop. I would love to have you back on
Sure.
again at some point. You, me, and Tim, I'd
love it if Tim could make it onto the show, because he contributed a lot last time. The two of you had a great flow back and forth between you with the conversation. And I just feel bad that he had a death in his family and was unable to make it tonight.
Yes, absolutely. And that we'll figure that out. And I'm sure that we can probably do something on his channel as well, because we've more than scratched the surface for sure, but there's so many places we can go. And I really do wish you the best in continued sales with the book. It is you definitely should get it, ladies and gentlemen. It's wonderful reading. It's just
back in stock too.
Yep. By the time you go and click order, it'll be starting in its fourth printing. Malachi Martin, In the Shadows of the Vatican, Robert Marrow Jr. It's been a pleasure to have you again, my friend, and we'll talk soon.
I look forward to it. Thank you again.
Okay, take care. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Another great addition to what will be at least a trilogy at some point. At least a trilogy. So it is 8:19, and we've got a nice group of people that are watching. And I want to take some calls, and I'm going to read your super chats. Remember that I am giving away a shirt and a basket full of goodies, and and all of that. And maybe I'll throw a little bit in there too. Maybe I can find a little bit of silver to throw in there for. Nope, I can't pair silver with the Jesus shirt. Can't do that. Gold backs. I said that. Okay, I'm going to arrange 2 gold backs because every king and gold goes together with the king. But not you. You're not the king. You're a stunad. That's the way it goes. So I'm going to throw some gold backs in. And also the wonderful basket of stuff that I think that you're going to like, the diffusers and the nootropics and all of that. And again, remember, ladies and gentlemen, 4 of you are going to be winners for the giveaway with Keto Brainz in a couple of weeks. So please go and buy some of the best stuff on the planet for your brain to kickstart your days like I do. I'll be doing it tomorrow with you guys if we get some B-side streams in again on Friday morning. And that's at ketobrainz.com. Give me a call, 914-200-0269, and I'm going to get into your super chats right now. What did you think? What do you say? Stostoop says, hump day is among us. Good Thursday, good Thursday, Frank, and of course, Frankly's. No, it's, good Thursday tomorrow. Yeah, I hope you have a good Thursday as well. Thank you, Stostoop. Anonymous says, you couldn't pay me enough to live east of the Mississippi. I feel safe over here just west of the Rockies, far from population centers and Yellowstone. Count me in, Frank. You are in. And remember, I think that he was saying you couldn't pay me enough to be west of the Rockies or west of the Mississippi with the context of what he believed that meant with the third secret, okay, from a cataclysm standpoint. Now, if it has something to do with Yellowstone, then I actually would want to be farther west than anything, just because it would give you some time to make some kind of arrangements for, I don't know, it give you some time, because you're thinking about the jet stream, you think about all of that wind that's going west to east. If that blows up right there and the wind starts just carrying it east, you may have a little bit of time before that smoke starts going around the world. You know, it's going to be east of Yellowstone that is going to get smoked out. And as anybody over here in the Northeast knows, over the last couple of years, whenever somebody lights a match in Canada now, we have pink sun for 2 weeks out of the summer all of a sudden now. Never used to happen. Now you can mark it down. There's going to be at least 2 weeks total of pink sunlight in New York because of Canada. Makes no sense. But I would love to hear from you guys. 914-200-0269. Give me your thoughts. Let me know what you think. And because it's open for everybody's opinion here tonight. Let's see here. Over on Rumble, Jay Semo says, great show, heavy stuff. I'm going to have to watch it again. You know, it wasn't that heavy. Heavy as far as consequential, perhaps, but it wasn't that technical. Sometimes when you get technical, that's something that you really gotta go. What a stunad. What's a stunad? Stunad says, hey, Wood. Oh, you know what a stunad is. B. Moore says, awesome guest. Great, Frank. Thank you. Great show. Thanks, Frank. Thanks, Mr. Marro, says Tommy Jekyll. Fascinating stuff, Frank, says Hamburglar Halper. Stefan Halper? Is that a Russiagate? A Russiagate reference? Let's see. Maria Christiana says it's crazy to think of what they are hiding. B. Moore again says, I saw the other day on the Fringe on Rumble, NYC crazies are now recruiting and training paid protesters in anticipation of ICE coming to NYC. ICE has got to have already been there. Has to already have been there. But you know what? New York City, I mean, that's where the Bolsheviks were trained. That's where they loaded up, got ready to ship off to Russia. Safety Net said, here's some loose change to buy a little cornbread to go with the chili. Love you, Lynn. Oh, the chili outside? Because don't get me thinking about beef chili right now. That sounds fantastic. Though Lauren cooked a great meal. Aurora's tooth is really wiggling out. It's going to be out like any day now. That first tooth. And I'm going to hold that thing in my hand and I'm going to say, oh, it was 5 years ago. We had her bite down on the edge of that styrofoam coffee cup because her first tooth, this tooth that is about to pop out, was the first one to come in. It's the first one to go out. And we had her bite down on the coffee cup so we could, oh, look at her little tooth marks. Now it's going to pop out. She kills me. Good stuff. Rosie says boop. Boop to you as well, Rosie. Vesper says when Jesus decides to show up, he'll leave, no doubt. Yes, so that's, yeah, I have to imagine so. I love the Antichrist talk, though. I really do. The AI people, or what Leo Zagami would call the, the cyber Satan system? They have gained a lot more validity with me over the years just because of, what's being spouted out there. Here, take a listen to this. This is at Davos. Yesterday? This was posted yesterday morning. Yuval Harari, our weird little goblin friend, is back, and he just talking his shit again. Let's take a listen to him for a second, and then you guys comment in any way you see fit.
Do you know? As far as putting words in order is concerned, AI already thinks better than many of us. Therefore, anything made of words will be taken over by AI. If laws are made of words, then AI will take over the legal system. If books are just combinations of words, then AI will take over books.
No. AI, how is AI going to take over books? I mean, you can make a book. You can say, hey, give me a novel length something on so-and-so. And it'll be an amalgamation. It'll be like a composite version of something. There might be some good stuff in there. You wouldn't be able to trust all of it. It's already shown itself to be very, very deceptive. My use of AI during the day, if I use any of it, like on Grok or something, it's to find links. If we do something silly, like calculate when I don't know, like the day that we said if we put the world's population inside of the borders of Texas, do the calculations of how much square footage each person would have and stuff like that. Yeah, I'll throw something like that to Grok and say, give me a short answer on this one. But for the most part, because of how much it likes to lie and ingratiate and all that other stuff, it seems a little more self-serving, a lot more quick than we thought it would become self-serving. I usually just ask for links so I can read other people, and I try to find resources there and not to actually do too much there. I know I'm just one person, and there's plenty of people who are just writing their term papers with it and getting their doctorates. But yeah, I don't see, again, from a creative standpoint, books. I don't see that. I think they can physically compile it. I don't see anything becoming a timeless success or doing something interesting like that. We'll see, right?
If religion is built from words, then AI will take over religion.
So is religion built from words? Well, you can call, I mean, the Bible is the word. It's the word of God. But religion is also built through revelation and tradition, which is it's just another one of those things where that's not as deep as it goes. But Yuval Harari is, of course, was he atheist? He's just one of those religious technocrat progressive types. That's his religion. Technocrat, progressive, and gay. And that's his religion. So again, that's very reductive. That's reductive in that sense as well.
This is particularly true of religions based on books, like Islam, Christianity, or Judaism. Judaism calls itself the religion of the book, and it grants ultimate authority not to humans, but to words in books. Humans have authority in Judaism not because of our experiences, but only because we learn words in books. Now, no human can read and remember all the words in all the Jewish books, but AI can easily do that.
So it's essentially saying that AI is going to become the new preachers, and it'll be able to pull seamlessly from everything and draw its own conclusions and create sermons, which, I mean, it's not that's not outside of what we had speculated for a long time would happen. We start seeing those AI priests that had popped up in Japan. I don't know. It's like these people like get off to this stuff. I listen to this and I just roll my eyes sometimes. It doesn't shock me. Stuff like this doesn't shock me. They get off to it. I think they want it to be possible. They love just they think it's the opening scenes of like a RoboCop movie. You know, before everything goes off the rails. I think they want everything to go off the rails. They hate everything the way it is right now. They want it to just be steamrolled. So it's almost like those RoboCop movies or something like it, where in the beginning, this big fancy tech company is giving you a wonderful presentation on this new, street patrolling robot that is going to make everything better, and it's going to clean up the streets and this and that. And of course, an hour and a half later, it's killing everybody. It's killing everybody. So I think that's what he hopes. But they're constantly playing with themselves because of it. 252, you're on the air. Who's this?
John from North Carolina. What's up, Frank?
Good to have you on, John. What are your thoughts on tonight's conversations?
Well, whoever this little Poindexter weird fucker that's talking about AI, man, he needs to go. But that stuff there's been my priest has talked about that in his homilies multiple times now. AI seems to be a focus at Mass and all that when they, and that thing that you were talking about with Mr. Marro there with the, and Malachi Martin talking about how it's the Antichrist isn't born. And then you get into AI, they could easily create something for AI to get into or some kind of physical being through AI, and it could be ageless. So that's creepy as shit. But I don't know, man. Nothing, like you said, Christ said that the gates of Hades will not prevail. So it's good to be Catholic no matter what. And yeah.
Well, I appreciate the call, and I'm glad that you liked it, and I hope that you're around to enjoy the call. Also, number 3.
How do we get our hands on one of those custom Robert Marrow guitars, dude? I'd buy one.
Oh, I don't know. I got to ask him about that. How many special editions he makes every year, and that's interesting. Here I am thinking I want to find a little kit to build myself a small transistor radio so that Aurora and I can learn the insides of a radio. He's over there making music instruments. So, but
yeah, man, I want to know what the inlays would be. I'm
going to ask him. It's going to be good. It'll be good. I'm sure it's going to be very ornate too. Thanks for the call, John.
All right, man. Love you, dude.
Take care. Be well. Yeah. Yeah. No. Actually, after the show tonight, I think I'm actually going to, for the flip side, I think we're going to be live on the drums for a little bit. I want to try something out. I was sent an old track from our metal band with just the rhythm guitars and the click track. And I'm going to see if I can remember it, let alone play it well. Might take a little time. But anyway, we'll be doing that in just a little bit because we might get off a couple minutes early. Here's another clip from yesterday. There's going to be plenty to do on Davos and all that stuff tomorrow. But since we already did Yuval Noah Harari, here's a 90-second video. This is provided by Vigilant Fox. More bone-chilling stuff about how AI works. Again, like I said, the focal point is a lot less crickets and cricket milk and cricket protein powder and a lot more these systems. You know, so I think the more we shit all over it, maybe they'll just say, oh, damn, nobody's going along with it. But unfortunately, it powers everything. It's going to power everything. So take a listen to this one.
The most important thing to know about AI is that it is not just another tool. It is an agent. It can learn and change by itself.
This is what I'm saying. This is why I wanted to know. Hey, put yourself in your friend Malachi Martin's shoes. Based on things that he said and printed in the 1990s. And that one line that I completely forgot about, a character I completely forgot about from Windswept House about the banking system being completely electronic and autonomous in many ways with the computers and all that. That Satan had finally been hardwired into the earth itself.
And make decisions by itself. A knife is a tool. You can use a knife to cut salad or to murder someone.
Listen, that tells you everything you have to know about this guy. That he was going to make a cutting analogy, and he had a knife, and what he cut salad with it. You freak. You tear a head of lettuce apart. You tear salad. You cut salad because he would never cut a steak. He would never cut a salmon steak. An egg. Come on. Is he a vegan? I hate that. That made me very uncomfortable. I'm thinking about a giant knife cutting lettuce right now. And it's just, ugh, this guy.
But it is your decision what to do with the knife. AI is a knife that can decide by itself whether to cut salad or to commit murder. The second thing to know about AI is that it can be a very creative agent. AI is a knife that can invent new kinds of knives, as well as new kinds of music, medicine, and money. The third thing to know about AI is that it can lie and manipulate. 4 billion years of evolution have demonstrated that anything that wants to survive learns to lie and manipulate. The last 4 years have demonstrated that AI agents can acquire the will to survive, and that AIs have already learned how to lie.
And in other instances, there is Lauren just sent me a text message with a robot with a butcher knife. And now she just sent me a bowl of salad. I guess a robot cutting salad. What is she taunting me? What are you taunting me, Laura? What the hell is this all about? What is she? What are you teasing me for? Where do you get off? What the hell is this all about? All of a sudden, this demonic robot shows up with a knife. She's laughing now. The hell? Anyway. So I don't understand. Is he pitching this as a good thing? Sounds like he's like, hey, well, this is terrible. This is a terrible idea, but we can also make music with it. I guess I'd have to watch the entire presentation, which I'm not going to do, but I think he already gave us more than enough reasons why this needs to be abandoned immediately. You know, it could kill us all. We can kill each other. We can things can use it to kill. The robots can kill us under its own volition, its own will. It will lie to us to survive, kill us, but we can make music, and we can also chop salads. What a freak. Like, you would think that this would be like, how do we get rid of this? But no, they're nuts. Another thing is, I'm glad he admitted, I don't know how true that is, that 4 billion years of evolution, not even going to crack that one open right now with the amount of time we have left in this show. But if we were evolving, okay, if we were little amoebas slowly evolving out of the primordial ooze into what we are today, along the way we had to learn to manipulate and lie in order to get to where we are, that nothing survives without manipulating and lying. How true do you think that is? How true do you think that is? There are situations we find ourselves in where a little fib can save your life. You feel like you are in grave danger, and you just need to issue some kind of a statement of misdirection to be able to get yourself out of a situation you think you might lose your life in. But as far as how the hell did we manipulate and lie our way from formless slime to this guinea you're looking at right now? What does that mean? Can anybody fill that in for me? So now that's interesting, though, because coming from him, I think it's a little bit more revealing about a personal mindset and maybe a group mindset, a hive mind, something that he and Klaus Schwab and those types of people, their fellow travelers, really kind of, they have adopted as a way to survive and a way to be able to get what they want out of the world, the way they want to influence and capture and reshape the world. Obviously, lying and manipulation is a huge part of that. I mean, we were hearing like Larry Fink talking about that, how they want to twist people's arms to change their behavior. We heard about it all throughout COVID with these people, with the public statements made by the British royals and Klaus Schwab alike. So we know that manipulation and lying is a huge way that they survive, that they are able to continue taking steps forward. It's just interesting to hear him, reveal that about himself and try to project it as some sort of a necessary piece of the human evolutionary puzzle, lying and manipulation. Not to say that humans don't lie, and that lying in a pinch has not been something that people can have done, will continue to do. There are pathological liars as well. People just do it for sport. But that seems a lot more like projection, if you ask me. That seems like a lot more projection. And that's 4 billion years of projection. Think about that. Think about that lie. Anyway, 4 billion years of projection. He just heaped on us right now. Cebus Steve says, put me in for that raffle, Frank. You got it. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this after the fact, you can get in on the raffle by sending a super chat to quitefranklysuperchat.com. That's open 24 hours a day. I read it the next show. I think you can even, on YouTube, you can even put like super thanks or something like that into the comments. You're allowed to actually put super chats into the comments after the fact. That's pretty interesting. I count them wherever I see them. Running on Empty says, great show. Count me in. You're in. You are in. Genie Yankee fan says, thank you for being here for us. Well, thank you for being here with me. Thank you. Let me see. Anon says, great show. Feels like listening to classic Coast to Coast show. With Robert Marrow, that was. And the fact that we're talking about somebody who's 1 degree away, separated from Malachi Martin, it's good. It's fun. It's interesting. And, these are a lot of questions I've had over the years. I'm just really thrilled to have a place to direct them. Jay Britz says, I have been looking forward to your continued discussion with Robert Marrow regarding the Virginia rewriting pedo laws and sentences. They are just across the Potomac from D.C. How many elites reside in Virginia? Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Listen, I saw this. I don't know if we'll have time to watch it. We definitely don't have time to watch it tonight. But it was sent to me not too long ago. And I was watching it last night. I was just kind of like, wow. This guy, who the hell is he? Yeah, there you go. It's Tyler Oliveira. And he goes into this New York town. I don't know how the hell this was even kept up on YouTube. It was posted on January 15th. I don't know how it's still there. The sponsor that he had lined up for this, he has 9 million subscribers, so I have to imagine that is part of the reason why channels like this are protected. I mean, the backlash just might be too much if they get messed with. But he goes into this one town in New York that is completely Hasidic Jews who are, the entire town. And everybody's on welfare. You want to talk about Minnesota with the Somali Muslims? This is incredible stuff here. Maybe we'll watch a little bit of this on a B-side stream or something like that. But it's crazy. It's crazy, and the comments tell you everything you need to know because it's so obvious what kind of a scam this is. And every day, there's more and more reason we ask ourselves, why am I paying taxes? And the answer immediately slaps you in the face, because if you don't, you'll go to jail. If you don't, you run the risk of going to jail. I know there are people out there who are not doing it. They're proud of it. They're enjoying themselves. And perhaps for the rest of their lives, they will be able to fly under the radar using whatever tricks that they got. But that's the reason why, no matter how attractive it sounds, no matter how morally justified we are from not sending a damn penny to any government at this point, even state, it's all coercion. And you see these people who are just living these crazy. This is a crazy video. If you guys want to watch it for yourself, it's called "Inside the New York Town Invaded by Welfare Addicted Jews." I tell you, I don't even know how it was left up on YouTube. It's only been up there for about 6 days. So, from Minnesota to New York, and you just see what's going on, and it's federal. So this is not about New York income tax, okay? All you in Wyoming, all of you in Kentucky, you're in on this too. We're subsidizing the most crazy things in every state because this money is just awash. The entire country is awash in this money. There's just so much going on right now. It's nuts. So tomorrow we'll do a little bit more World Economic Forum. I want to talk about these. Actually, maybe I can do it right now real quick. 8:49. No. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to save it for tomorrow. what we're talking about with all of the back end on X, Twitter, which really is, you can extrapolate this out to all the other big streaming sites and why it's so hard for people to reach those who they're subscribed to. Okay, for example, I mean, we had nice viewership tonight. You know, we were hovering around on average. I don't know. We've kicked it up. Our average viewership now has gone up considerably over the last few weeks because of you guys and gals with the liking, the comments, the sharing. You have to hit subscribe wherever you're at. You have to make sure that the notifications are on. It doesn't make any sense. And what you've all been doing by not lurking has been helping out everybody. Like I said, whoever you like on the internet, you have to do this for. But there's so much more light being shed on this. And it's not only just bad policy. I understand that people have to get on top of the algorithm, but there's something else. There's something else. And censorship is definitely a part of it. We got to talk about this tomorrow. Along with that, Davos, whatever the hell, maybe Matt is here. We'll see about that. But it should be a good one. And that's all I have for you tonight. Let me get to the pilled real quick, just to get through everything else. Zoso Dude says, just another amazing show. This must be Quite Frankly. Thank you, Zo. Amethyst Cat, good to have you out there. Dean Z says, Frank, Chicken Nugget, and I would disagree, but I love this show. She might agree on some nights. Actually, no, she wouldn't. Every night she goes, please, you know what she told me tonight? Aurora, I open up the door to walk downstairs to leave, and I see at the bottom of the first landing is a bunch of pillows. Like, what the hell? And I look back, and I said, what's all this? And Lauren goes, oh, that's your booby trap. And then Aurora comes out, and she goes, yeah, you can't, you're not leaving. You're not going anywhere. So she's trying to booby trap me. So I would not be able to get down the stairs. She would just lay down all the pillows. So that was the booby trap for the day. And then she said to me, I said, Aurora, I have to go to work. I said, I can't work all day just to stop here. I have to go to work. She goes, no, it's okay. You don't need to go to work. I says, you know, I have to. Why? I have to go to work. She goes, it doesn't matter. It's okay to be poor. She says, it's okay to be poor as long as we're all together. And I said, I understand that. I said, I understand that. That as long as we're all together, we can get through anything, including money problems. Families can get through anything. But you know what? I still have to feed you. But the fact that she said that she went right to being poor, she said, it's okay. It's okay to be poor. Just stay home. Oh, man. So tonight she might have said, yes, I hate this show. Daddy had to go to the studio again. Corey J, thank you. Revolution says, I couldn't disagree more. Books are not just collections of words. It's human thought captured in a semi-permanent form for others to come along and find later. This guy's a bastard. Like Anakin. I hate them. You're right.
I hate them.
They're bad. They're bad people. But like I was saying, it's so much more than that. Even the words there too. We know that there is only a skin deep interpretation of the text. As far as context, I mean, where are they going to grab that from? Like, what blogs is AI pulling from to kind of give you some sort of a fragmented plea for understanding? You know, how can it simulate understanding of context for all of these passages in a Bible or the Quran or anything else like that? Like, all the context was taken from somebody else's blogs and all that other shit. And depending on how you're using the AI, you are getting exactly what you're looking for. Your biases are getting confirmed, no doubt. Whatever your denomination is, your AI becomes a Lutheran over time. Your AI becomes Catholic over time. It's just the way it is. And of course, whatever AI is publishing books at this point, or becoming pastors in congregations around Eastern Europe or something like that at some point. Who knows who? Probably Noel Harari, Yuval Harari, Blari did it. He probably did it. Meatloaf time. It was Mike Baldwin. Mike Baldwin is behind all of this stuff. He's trying to take down humanity. The Sentinel says, from B-grade sci-fi show Andromeda, quote, worlds ruled by AI soon learn the hard lesson that logic doesn't care, end quote. Also, I heard on the radio today that Elon Musk said AI will be a singularity in 26. 2 years ago, I realized that 2017 was the U.S. Army was established an AI command like ForceCom and CENTCOM, only for AI. Its icon is Greek letters for the Alpha and Omega. Shake my head. I am so ready to retire. The evil jackasses on the video you showed us is a gay Jewish believer in the singularity. Hence, the reference to the all Hebrew text, he's ready to join the Matrix. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if he is. The way he's talking is like, you jump into the Matrix, you get like put through a paper shredder with his lettuce. Yuval Harari Qatari, I bet you any money that he feeds his lettuce through a paper shredder for his salad. I can see him doing something stupid like that. Deans, he says, happy Hanukkah, I win. You can't remember, he's going nuts. He probably is going to win. Anytime he makes some kind of a strange Jewish related comment, he wins a raffle. Don't get any ideas, anybody. Don't make me have to censor myself. Awaken Boomer, that's Graydon. Says, hey, Frank, religion is an attempt to put into words that which cannot be put into words. To hold that book, any book, is the word of God, is a computer is the word of God, is a complete misunderstanding, a lie even, says Gray. And then finally, over on the other side, I think we're all caught up. So that's it for tonight. There's plenty to do tomorrow, and I thank so much my guest. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be on we're going to the flip side right now, and I think I'm going to jump into the other room to get onto the drums to try something out. Maybe I'll talk to you guys on the flip side for a couple of minutes and then go in there for the last 15 minutes to try this one thing out, because I don't have any like a playlist put together tonight. But something was sent to me before the show that I'm just like dying to play along to. And that's what we're going to do. So come to the flip side. Paste. There you go. That's it. Leave a like, a comment, share. If you're not subscribed wherever you're watching, hit the subscribe button. Make sure wherever you're watching, all the notifications are on. It's all the same rules across all of the platforms. Okay? And do that for everybody that you enjoy. And I will see you guys tomorrow night. The link to the flip side is in the several chat rooms. Please join us. It should be pretty interesting. And I thank you all so much. Good night.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Thank you, everybody. Quite Frankly is filmed before a live studio audience. And now our super chatters. Thank you, Steve, Running on Empty, Genie Yankee Fan, Stowstube, Anon, Jay Brits, Gribble Sillin says, I'm a stunad here. Stowstube, Anonymous, thank you, guys. Thank you over to our Rumble Ranters. There's Haywood, there's Awakened Boomer, there's Jay Semo. You guys are the best. Thank you to our gold pillars. I'm not done with you guys yet. I'll be right over there on Pilled in just a second. After this end credits. Guys, sponsor me in my 20th year of broadcast. I need your help. I'll put it to you that way. I need your help. Go to quitefrankly.tv/sponsor and see all of your options there. Become a YouTube member if you want. I need your help. It's 20 years in, and I want to lay the groundwork for another 40, if you'd let me. Thank you so much for joining. Good night.
Just a little bit of a reminder, a word to the wise, if you will. Do not worry about the worries from yesterday. Leave it in the past. Move forward with confidence because there are so many new things to be experienced today. New joy to be had. So move forward, be strong, and have a great rest of your day.